Yeah? Okay, hi guys. So I'm Nick, and I've been working on Orchard Core for the last year and a half or so. I've been working on a branch of Orchard Core called MVC. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been working on. It's not going to be as long a demo as everything else, but it's mainly going to be coding. I was going to do just one slide, but I'm going to do actually two. So a little bit of background. So we all know what Orchard 1 is. It's basically a CMS, multi-tenancy built in, quite coupled to the data layer, and quite coupled to MVC. You can't rip MVC out of Orchard 1. Orchard Core. So about three months ago, maybe 2 months ago, I started working on stuff to do with Glimpse. And I found that Glimpse was requiring a lot of stuff to be in a tenant, but not at the application layer. And because MVC in Orchard Core was hosted in the application layer, we had quite tightly coupled Orchard Core to MVC, just because that's what we wanted to do at the time. Now, because of that, Glimpse wasn't working. So we needed to find a way. So I spoke to Sebastian and needed to find a way to take MVC out of the application services and put it in the tenant services. Funny enough, he had the same idea and had already started on a branch of that. So I took that branch and created MVC as a module. So when you now start up Orchard Core, you're not starting up MVC, you're telling the tenant to then enable MVC as a module, which basically means you've got a modular framework with very minimal ceremony. So how's that done? So I'm not going to demo MVC. Huh?
No, I didn't know you were doing that, and CMS does the same thing with Express.
Oh, does it?
Express has a module.
Oh, there we go. Look at that. Cool, huh? I know, we've also got Nancy as well, but I'll show that later. Right, so the first demo is basically going to be a bare bones web application, Orchard Core application, but with no MVC. So let's see how that looks. So the first thing we'll do is we're going to create what we call a host, which is basically, it looks like this. Orchard Core. I'm going to create a new folder. Okay, just host all my stuff in. And we will say this is demo 1. Harvest live demo 1. And hopefully we should have a project. At least we did earlier. Oh, I think this is Visual Studio. Yeah, okay. So similar problems as George. Now, what you see here is you have a very bare bones application, and what we need to do is we need to say to we want this stuff to be in modules. We don't want it to be in the host, because we want to enable modules. We want to do all the funky stuff that we've got in Orchard, and we don't really want to mess around with stuff in here. So what we're going to do, we need to do a few things first. We need to modify our project.json file because it's got out-of-date references, and then we need to modify our startup. So let's start with modifying our project.json. Now I have a example here that I can copy out. This is the reason why is we run off net standard 1.61, and for some reason the things don't work if we don't use that. So let's jump and pop that into here. Let me delete my comments. Okay. So the first thing I've done is I've referenced this package called Microsoft.ASP.NET Core Modules. The name will be changing. I think the name was a hangover from a demo that Sebastian did to the internal team. But this is the crux of the modular architecture that we've got going on. So if we save that, and what that brings in is it allows us to register modular services and register the module containers and multi-tenancy. So all caked into this. So multi-tenancy is caked into modules. So if we go to our startup, we can now start adding in our modular stuff. So I'm going to comment out this stuff because I want this to run in a module. Okay? And I'm going to say services dot add modular services. See how this looks. Is it modular or module services? Module service. Sorry, can't remember the name of it. Yeah, okay, that's what we want. So we've got that, and then we also need to configure it. So if we say config. Now, one of the things that modular services gives us is that every module is basically a group of features. The module itself is a feature if you don't specify that the module has multiple features. Now, we need to say to the modular services, register all these features by default. So we can do that by saying config dot with all features. We can also say with other features, but I'll come on to that a little later on. So this is registering our modular services. It's registering the manifest files. It's registering locations, etc., etc. And I'll get to that in a second. The last thing we need to do here is we need to also add in the middleware. So use modules, I believe it's called. And that is that. Cool. But this doesn't really do much. At the moment, all we've said is, well, we've got modular services and we want to use modules, but we actually haven't got any modules. So let's add a module. Let's first, this is the problem with this keyboard, Bertrand. It's just the click is terrible. So I'll set that as a startup. So if I hit F5, we'll see what it looks like. It won't look like much. Yeah, so it errors. It doesn't really do anything at this point. So let's add a module. So by default, when we register modular services, we say that all modules must exist in a module folder. We can change that later, and I'll show you how. Oops. So that's because I'm running. Okay. Modules. All right, cool. And then let's add a module. So again, new project, .NET Core, class library. Let's add it in here, live codes. Okay, cool. So harvest dot module 1. Cool. And let's just add that. Right, so we've just got a bare bones class library. It doesn't really do anything at the moment. We need to modify the project.json file. Again, this has just got a older version of the .NET standard, and we use 1.6, not 1.0. Now, we need to say, we had this piece of code at the very beginning in startup, which is this. And we want to say, well, we want this to run in our module. So how do we do that? Because at the moment, the module doesn't do anything. So let's add something called startup. Oops. Okay. So we're all very familiar with the startup class that we've got in the host, this being the host here. We have another kind of way of registering services. And these are called tenant services. The ones that you register in here are your application level services. So how do we do that? Well, we have a class called startup base, which isn't in here because it is in a package somewhere. And so let me just copy that and add that in here. .0.0, etc. Okay, cool. Just do a little bit of cleanup as a good developer, and then I should have this. Fantastic. So what we've got is we can override two things. We can override the, oops, sorry, let me bring that back up. We can override the services, which is similar to the one in here. So configure services, and you've also got configure. We've got the same thing for tenants. So configure services and configure. Now what we want to say is we want to run this piece of code, not this piece of code, this one here, in there. So let's pop that into here. And we are going to run it on this. So if I go like that, cool. Let's just build that. Oh, we got an error. Add that in. Cool, cool. Fantastic. And one other thing is we also need to add routing. At the moment, we haven't got routing implemented when you load up the host. It's a bug I found out yesterday. So let's just add that into here because we can do that. Services dot add routing. Cool. That's great. We've got a module. We should be able to kick this up and have it run. One other issue is that in order for the host to be able to compile or to run this, it needs to be compiled. And at the moment, the two aren't well, how do you say? They're not, you know, you can't do assembly.load on this, for example, without it being registered in here. You used to be able to. We used to have dynamic compilation, but that's been taken out recently. So we just add a package reference for this into here. Was it 1.0? And then we should, once it's restored, fantastic. Let's F5 that. We should see hello world. If it doesn't hello world, then I will go to one I used earlier and show you the working one. Oh, bollocks. Okay, cool. Right. So what have we got? I don't really want to debug this now. Let me just go back to services. Let's see what I've got here. So add routing. And in my startup, oh, I know what it is. Okay, cool. So one other thing we needed to do, which was in here. I'm just going to copy one that I had working earlier, which is to do with this lot. Just copy and paste this in. The only real differences are the configuration settings. Just add this stuff in. Okay. Let's see if this works. Okay. No. All right. Well, it's the same project. I will just kick up this one. Hang on. Let me just have a. Yeah, I'm just going to kick up harvest one because I know this one was working earlier. Okay, hello world. So I'm not sure, I must be missing a line or something. So exactly the same principle. Harvest 1 has exactly the same code in it as live demo 1. So there must be something wrong with this. So we've got Harvest 1, we've got the Harvest 1 module, and oh, okay, yeah. I forgot. Earlier I said that that we're registering module manifests. Now, one of the things I forgot, that Sipka probably should have pointed out, is that I'm actually missing the manifest file to say that this is a module to load up. So if I paste this in here, this should now pop up. There we go, right. It's the little things, isn't it? So what have we done? We've got a host, we've got a module. The module has a little bit of this in it. We can start doing the same stuff that you do in regular ASP.NET Core. We can start messing with those kind of things. So we can start saying, where is it? We can start saying stuff like app.when. What is this? The path stuff. Use when or something like that. Use when. Is use when the path? I can't find it. But we can make conditional statements in here, and that's not an issue. Maybe it's in this one. I changed a lot of stuff. Here we go. So we can start saying, if we take this piece of code and pop it into here, exactly the same. And all we're saying really is, when you do a URL of foo, you return a different response, hello world foo. So if we run that now, and this is all in a module. We're making changes to a module. We're not making changes to the host. The host is unchanged, which is cool. So if I go /foo, hello world foo. So great. But you're not really going to run the world on this. It's not. It's very simple, very lightweight. And I haven't actually shown anything cool yet. So let's go to our presentation again, wherever the presentation is. And let's move to the next one. So what we really want to do is we want to say, because I've just shown an application with no MVC, well, we're all developers, we all use MVC. So Nick, let's start using some MVC, right? So let's do that. Let's add a module with MVC, and then we'll add another module with a view, which is going to be cool. Maybe we'll stick with our original module, save us from having to rework everything that we've just done. So if we get rid of all of this funky stuff, I will be relying on some of my previous code. And we are going to use this as our MVC host, the project that's going to register MVC for us. And now how do we do that? Well, first we're going to need to modify the project.json file again, because that's what we like to do. And we've got something called. We're going to get rid of the abstractions. We might have to bring that back later. We need MVC. So for bringing in MVC-specific things, we have a package called MVC.modules. And then the other thing we need is we're going to actually need MVC, because that's, well, what we're trying to work with. So let's have a look. ASP.NET Core .mvc. And 111, why not? Okay. Restore everything. Okay, cool. So we only in this instance need to do one thing, and I believe that is we just need to add the MVC. Let me have a little look. I can't remember myself. I'll copy the code I did earlier. So we need to add the MVC modules and configure modules. So in fact, we don't even need to reference MVC in here. So let me remove that. We only need the first line. There we go. jumping ahead of myself here. Configure modules. Configure modules is in, just grab that reference as well. Keyboard. This one. Cool. Go back down to the project.json file, and I'll just pop this one in. I think the two have references to each other, but oops. Okay, cool. Let's just restore that. Wait for this little thing. It takes forever. Right. Okay. Cool. So it looks like we're you know, this is going to register MVC. It's not really going to do much. We'll rename the manifest and just say harvest register MVC. We're not going to see anything. But what we really want to do is we're registering MVC, but we're not doing anything with it. So let's get another module and, you know, let's have a controller pump some code out to the screen. So let's do a new project. Web, this one. Go to the standard live codes. Pop it into the modules directory. Okay. So what have we got? Harvest dot live demo 2. Yep. Cool. And we want it empty. Fantastic. Where are we? Just wait for it to load up. Okay, cool. So we've got it here. Shoot, I used the full one. I'm just going to get rid of that. Sorry, guys. I need a class library. .NET. Let's try this again. Live codes, harvest 1, modules. Live demo 2 again. Right. Cool. So now all we want in here is we want to say, well, we want to reference MVC. So let's go with Microsoft dot. Cool. And we'll take the latest. So that's what we always do. Bear in mind that this doesn't have, this module does not have a reference to this module. They don't know about each other. They only know that this has got MVC and this is registering MVC, but they don't know, this module here doesn't know that it's being registered, it just knows that it needs to use it. So if we now create a controller, and we'll just call it, I don't know, home controller. Cool. Let's get rid of the little class thing. And we will inherit off controller. I think that's what we do, isn't it? Yep. Doop. And public. I action results index. Is it like a JSON result or something? I don't know, something like that. Okay, cool. Now the last thing we need to do, people commenting on my Facebook, right. If I pop, we need a little manifest file. We had issues with that earlier. So this is harvest MVC application. Fantastic. And the last thing is we need to add this into our project.json file. There we go. Cool. So now we've got 2 modules, one registering MVC, one using MVC. And let's kick that up. See what it looks like. If Visual Studio replies to me. All familiar sign. Okay. Sorry about this, guys. George, I think you blamed this on Taylor earlier, right? Yeah. So.
You blame on Sebastian.
Oh yeah. Don't know. You just never know what it's doing, do you? You know.
Just need to kill it.
I think I'm gonna. Go on the name. What do you reckon? That one? I don't even know what it's doing. It's right. Okay. Let's go back to that then. Jeez. One of these. I think it's that one. Only ever happens in demos. My first demo, I plugged it into the monitor and my PC did 15 minutes worth of Windows updates. So, don't know if anyone remembers that in Amsterdam. Don't even know what it's doing. Right, okay. I think we're back. Wasn't this slow earlier, so. Okay. Just need this to load. I think I should delete my SUO file or something. Okay, fine. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm just going to kick F5 and let's see what happens. So what we're expecting, if this has worked, is a 404 page. And then what we'll do is we will put in the URL to the controller action method, and we should see a response. I know. Has the internet got down or something? Something is. Okay, right, so we've got a. Jeez. Okay, let's have a look and see what error we've got. Could not be found. I don't care. I want it to work. Right. See if we can F5 it now. Build succeeded. Right. So this should 404. That's a good sign. Okay, cool. So what we want is we want harvest.livedemo1. Let's try and type this in. Harvest.livedemo1 / Does anyone remember the controller name? What was it? Home, yes. Okay, home, and then did I say index? And that didn't work. Harvest.livedemo1 home index. Did I get this right?
Live demo 2 again.
Yep, thank you. There we go. That's what I wanted to hear, yes. Okay, cool, so let's just slight recap. We've registered MVC in a module. That's now sat on a tenant, which I'll show a little bit later on. And we have used MVC within another module. So, we've now got a modular architecture. The host has no idea what MVC is. I think that's pretty cool so far. So, the next thing is we can also do that with things like, we can also add a view, we can do normal MVC kind of things here, but I will carry on with this demo. So the next step is, it may be a warning, I don't know, but calamities. little bit of comedy injected into this. Demo 3. We're going to show, so one of the things I heard most about Orchard V1, one of the things that annoyed people was that, hey, you've got this modules folder. How do I create my own? I want my own modules folder. You know, I don't want to put all my modules where all the Orchard modules are. Crazy people. Right. It's not that difficult to do, actually. In what we can do, or what we've done, is we can now say, within our host, we can't do it at a tenant level, but we can do it at a host level. And we can say that our services can also be add, I forgot what it's called. It is in, I'm going to pluck it from something I did earlier, from demo 3. All this code will be available to you guys, so it's, if you want to copy and paste it, just like me. There we go. So we can now start saying stuff like this. Add extension location. And what that means is that by default, all modules are registered in the modules folder. Now, that's great, but if you want things like themes, we've now said that because themes are just extensions, there's nothing special about themes, they are just extensions. So this is what we did with themes. We just said, well, let's add another folder for themes. So if you wanted something like custom modules, well, that's not an issue either. You can now do that, and it just works. The second thing is, well, you know, if you can customize your modules, why not customize your module manifests? I've got module.txt, but I don't know. You might want something completely different. I don't know why, but you may do. So we now have add, I think it's manifest or something. Let me just go to Sebastian, do you remember what it's called? I know where it is. Hang on a second. It's in here. Add manifest definition. Here we go. So we can now say add manifest definition. And we can say, well, so by default I have a module.txt. That will always work. There's no way of replacing that at the moment. But I may want a custom manifest.txt. And I want to give it some metadata because somewhere in the pipeline you might want to say, well, you know, like themes, theme.txt, well, its module type is probably a theme. We said modules are just modules. And your custom manifest may be something else that, you know, I don't know, a test module or something along those lines. And that is available to you later on in the pipeline. So I can now create a module with a custom manifest.txt. This is untested, which I probably should have tried earlier, but let's rename one of these. Okay, custom manifest.txt. Let's see if this works. We should just be able to F5 this. Remember, a 404 is good. All right. And I did a demo here. Fantastic. So that's now using two different types of manifest files. One is just our standard module.txt. The other one is a custom module.txt. Exactly the same thing, but you can do that. Right. Next is okay. So the next thing I'm going to show is some multi-tenancy. Multi-tenancy you get for free with module services. But how does it really, how does it really look like? What am I using at the moment? Well, what I've just been showing you is the default tenant. You have a host, and all your services are registered on the default tenant. Now, all what we need to do is we need to now tell the host where our sites are going to live. And again, we've just been modifying this. I'm going to leave that stuff there, and I'm going to start saying, well, you know what? I'm going to add a sites directory or something along those lines. I'm just going to have another look in here. That's not it. I'm going to have a look in here. That's not it. I can't remember where it is. It might be in here. Right. So I want to add a sites directory, the sites folder, I should say. And where is that? You just grab that out of here. Oh, I'm running, that's why. So everyone's used to app_data, right? In Orchard Core, well, that's up to you. That's up to your host. We don't say that you have to use app.data. You can use anything you want, and it's not difficult to change. There's very little ceremony in it. Cool. So that should bring that in. Wait for it to restore. Okay, cool. Fantastic. So what we've got is we've got something called app.data, which we're all used to. So we're going to call that the root path, and we're going to say that all sites, all tenants, sites, tenants, whatever, are going to exist in that folder, in the sites folder. AppData is kind of like the parent hosting of the sites folder. Maybe it's more ceremony than we need, but it's kind of nice to encapsulate it within a container. Okay, cool. So the first thing is we have our default container. Let's model that within our file system. So how does it look? So within our host, again, we have an app_data folder, and we have a sites folder. Oops. And then by default, all sites have got their tenant names are the folder names. So if we say default, and every site has a manifest file. So we can I'm going to take it from one I did earlier, settings.txt, and I'm going to put this in here, and it doesn't really do much. Default and the state of running. All right. So if I F5 this, again, 404, we're going to see an MVC root working. All it's doing is it's running off this manifest. If it doesn't exist, by default, it uses a single manifest built into the system. Okay? So if we refresh, cool. Now, haven't really shown any multi-tenancy stuff off yet. So what we're going to do is we're now going to create another folder called 2. And we're going to say, well, 2 is also a tenant, so let's pop 2 in. Let's add settings.txt, settings.txt being the manifest for the site. And we're going to say that the running name is 2. Okay. So what's going to happen is it's going to load up the site, and it's going to have 2 tenants with all the features attached to it, which is fine. We can do that. That's absolutely cool. It doesn't really tell us much, though. So by default, the default tenant doesn't have anything, but we can also say, because when we register roots, we can also have 2. We don't have 2. Huh? Oh yeah, of course. That's what I get for copy and pasting, isn't it? Whoops. Cool. So let's just stop that and restart it. Okay, let me just find my tab. So again, that should be good. And then if we say add 2 in that, okay, cool. So we can see that, well, we're just showing 2 URLs. It doesn't really tell us whether we're working in multi-tenancy or not. It's a bit terrible. We can do better, and we will do better. Within our controller, what we can say is we can inject in, what can we inject in? The shell services, shell settings. Oops. Let me just find out where that is so I can grab that. Cool. And we are putting that in our module. Is it 2, Sebastian? It is, isn't it? Cool. For it to restore. Okay. Cool. Let's just set that as well. And then we can say, well, I don't know, this is terrible. This is just really bad. But tenant we can use, let's just do a plus. Okay. Does that look good? I think that looks good. Right. Let's hit F. That doesn't matter. String where? I don't trust you. I don't trust you. Really? Because that kind of worked. Well, okay, so we can see tenant 2. It's not JSON. Oh, all right, jeez. It's not valid JSON at all. I did say this isn't perfect, all right? Jeez. Unbelievable. Some people, eh? Okay, let's have a look. So, there we go. Okay, tenant 2. And if we go back, tenant default. That's multi-tenancy. There we go. We've got multi-tenancy baked into module services. Kind of looking cool, right? So, next step. Is there any questions at this point? I know there is. Oh, fantastic. If you're about to ask about Nancy, I was about to demo that. No, so, okay, good.
It was something you already covered. You added some additional custom folders for loading extensions.
Yes.
And also you added one more, which was for the sites folder, right?
Let me go back. That's good. Let's have a look at the code and so this stuff, yeah?
Right. Okay.
Okay, so cool.
Do those have to reside within the host folder, or can you store them outside?
That's a fantastic question. Yes, they have to reside within the host folder at the moment, because I wasn't allowed to do it anywhere else. Yeah.
By who?
Oh, Sebastian told me off. That was the globing stuff. Do I not get a chocolate, or is that? I actually think we probably should.
I don't want globbing patterns, which means any folder name under this folder.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Specific name, and it can be any folder.
There's no reason why we can't actually.
Then he's talking about the host. Okay? The host is what? It's a project, but the file system, there is one file system. Is the question about does it have to be in the file system, or is the question can it be anywhere?
My question is,
okay.
outside of the folder.
Yeah, okay.
So you are wrong.
Well, okay, you are kind of right and you're also kind of wrong. So at the moment, it uses the built-in iFile provider from the hosting environment. So when it tries to resolve, it will resolve underneath that. But that doesn't mean that we can't, one sec, it means we can't swap that out for something else, yeah?
Do you have a class, which I wrote, that will let you have a single by default tenant?
Yeah, it's called single shell tenant.
Does it by chance inherit from an interface?
No, it doesn't. I don't remember seeing this at all, but
Any class inheriting from this interface, and it can return any number of tenants. Like, for instance, a single JSON document containing many tenants inside a single JSON document.
is it this one?
For instance, an Azure Blob Storage, and you get exactly the extent service.
I don't know.
It's totally wrong to
Is
say
he?
someone is wrong.
I don't want to say you're right though. That's it's not that you're not right. I just don't want to say that. So any other questions? And then that's why I got flowers. Oh, it's
I
here.
have one more. I'm scared to ask it.
No, go on. You might as well. It's
So you had two modules running in this host, right?
yes.
And one of them registered MVC.
Yep.
The other one used it. But that seems a little odd to me.
Why?
Should there be? I mean, because these two modules, the point of them was that they're totally unaware of one another. So if one didn't exist, the other one wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So
Well, no, that's actually not true. The other one just wouldn't serve up MVC particulars. It wouldn't not work. It just wouldn't have the MVC routing.
but that's kind of what that module does, right? It
Why? It does at the moment. It doesn't necessarily have to. The idea is that if in that module you had a cross between MVC features and Nancy features, you could, for example, turn off the MVC ones and have them rely on the MVC module.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make more sense to make separate modules then?
You could do.
One for MVC and one for-
You could do, but you wouldn't want MVC to be registered in more than one module.
Yeah, so that was going to be my follow-up. So if multiple modules went and tried to register MVC, what would happen in this context?
I don't know actually. It just keeps adding services to the stack. So you probably would end up in a bit of a weird mix.
So there should probably be some sort of disambiguation, or so that multiple modules can register the stuff unaware of one another, and it would just work.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, well, this is just the first step, so yes.
One module registers MVC, it's called the MVC module.
Yeah.
Any other module within MVC references or depends.
Yeah, it depends on that one, yeah.
Today,
And that's what I was referring to.
you can do add MVC, add MVC, add MVC, add MVC 10 times. That would be 10. It's like
It-
any module.
But it does adds additional services to that stack.
Well, my point was, if there is a resource which should exist only once in an app, it should be a module, and other modules should reference that.
Yeah, should have a dependency on it.
MVC or anything else.
Yeah.
Azure, cache, that's
I mean, we could, what you're saying really is we should just add the dependencies to this one here. And then we know that one will kick up before the other. It doesn't really matter in this instance, but so what we can do is do that. Yeah?
That makes sense.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, have I got enough time to carry on, or did you want to do your Yes SQL stuff?
okay, because it was just in case you have.
Okay. Yeah, I've been yabbering a little bit, so. Okay, cool. So I've shown multi-tenancy. We've seen that. You get that for free. Kind of cool.
I have a question.
Okay.
You mentioned 2 slides. We are at the 8th probably.
These are demo slides, man. There's more prompts for you guys.
Slides for this kind of content.
Huh?
Oh, and also another question. I sent
You're very critical, aren't you?
There's a specific kind of slide for this kind of slides.
I didn't see that. I'm in Google Docs, man. My Microsoft Office Excel thing, PowerPoint thing ran out of evaluation period, so. I know. Let's have a little look at Nancy. because we're all used to MVC, and actually Nancy's a really cool framework. And how does it really work? Huh? It's cool.
Yeah, but that's why you say Nancy is an actually very cool framework. I'm saying that's why Orchard is not on Nancy.
Well, Orchard's also not on MVC.
Sorry, Orchard, CMS.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. So let's add some Nancy code into here. So how many, out of interest, how many people have played with Nancy FX? Yeah? You guys like it? Is it cool? Yeah? Good. All right, so we want to do similar stuff. We don't want to modify the host. We're going to keep the host that we've been using. We're going to register Nancy, and we're going to use a Nancy module. All right? We're going to do it super quick, as I know that I'm probably running out of time. Right, so everything, we're going to live in the modules folder, and we are going to say harvest.nancy, Nancy register. Cool. Reg. Okay, cool. Let's have a look at this. Okay, cool. So we're going to need some components. I'm going to grab them from a thing that I did earlier just to speed this up a little bit. It's in demo 3, I believe. Cool. Just like we have MVC, we've also got Nancy modules, so we can take those. There we go. Let's add this in. And we're also going to need to take this piece of code, and I'll explain that now in a second, sorry. Let's just rename this. Let's add a new file. Okay. Startup.cs. Okay. So this is just regular routing stuff, nothing to be concerned about. The line that we're looking at really is this one here. We're not registering the, we aren't looking at registering the services within Nancy. We will let Nancy do that itself. What we are doing, however, is we're saying use Nancy modules. That will register the Nancy bootstrapper within the tenant and allow us to do all the funky stuff that we're looking at doing. What's going on here? Okay. Okay. That's weird. Let's just have a little look and see. Maybe it just broke from earlier. Okay, cool. Right, so that's going to register Nancy. Let's just take the manifest file and change that to Nancy. Cool. And one other thing we're going to do before that is we're going to have a module that uses it. Actually, no, we'll use it in here. So let's add a dependency on Nancy in here. I think it's called. Is it just called Nancy? I think it is. Oh. Clint Eastwood, there we go. I like their naming conventions. It starts with A, B was Barney Rubble, C is Clint Eastwood. It's quite cool. Okay. And then in our host, we also need to specify that we have a Nancy thing. So, harvest dot what did I call it? Nancy register. Let's just copy it. Cool. Okay, cool. And then we need to create a Nancy module. I'm actually going to copy one that I did earlier. It's just easier for this demo. I think I called it home module. There we go. And we're going to put it just in here. So if anyone's never seen a Nancy module, it looks very similar like this. You, like in MVC, you inherit off a controller. In Nancy, you inherit off a Nancy module, and this is its routing. So quite nice. One bug that we've got in this is that the ASP.NET MVC routing doesn't work with side by side with the Nancy routing. I don't know why. I thought I had it working earlier, but no. Okay, let's kick that up and let's see what that looks like. So this time we're not looking for a 404. Well, kind of. We're looking for a Nancy error page. Oh my God, there we go. So we've got something, right? Oh, well, it is a 404. Now, if I say /say hello, there we go. Hello from Nancy. And that is being delivered from a Nancy module. Pretty cool stuff. Thank you. I think that's all I've got to demo. Any questions? Fire away, sir.
So what is, in this context, what is a module from the perspective of, the host Owen? Is it involved in the Owen pipeline at all, or is it just an assembly that you dynamically load and give it an opportunity to sort of participate in the startup configuration?
That is exactly it, yeah. In the startup of the tenant and not the startup of the host. The host just hosts tenants. It doesn't do anything else.
Right, so if they want to be involved in the Owen pipeline directly, they have to register some middleware of their own.
Yes, exactly. And registering middleware is not difficult either. Yeah. I did have a small demo on that, but I think I've run out of time pretty much, so yeah. Any other questions?
So by demoing Nancy, you're basically saying that, hey, Nancy works with Orchard Core?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can use it if you want.
People should develop using that?
Yeah, why not? Nancy's fantastic. I love its routing system. I think it's really cool. And you can do interesting things with it, like you can do posts as well. And I don't know. I think they've got patch as well. Yeah. So I really like it. Yeah. Yes.
Continue the question. It works on Orchard Core SaaS framework.
Yes.
It's not Orchard Core CMS. Two different products, and you should emphasize.
Okay. That.
Yes, but there are two different things. You can't say I can use Nancy on Orchard Core. One Orchard Core.
You can use it on the SaaS framework. Well, you can. You can turn it on the CMS. It is just a module. Well, you can turn it on.
But if it can't coexist with MVC routing, then
It can't at the moment. That was working. It's broken again. I don't know why. So in the future it will work. Yeah.
so you can potentially have one Orchard CMS module using Nancy and another one using
MVC. Yeah. There's no reason why not. Yep. Any more? Did that answer your question?
Yes, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. One other thing, not code-wise, but it took about 1.5 years, I believe. But Sibka made his first pull request into Orchard 2. So I think Antoine though kind of made lots of comments. So he's a bit of a shark, that one. Cool. That's me.